Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of LiliPod. Today we have Gabriel from Crypto Crusades, an amazing Web3 game that is currently in beta on Scale Network. We're here to ask Gabriel some questions about a little bit of his experience, what the game is about, and where they're trying to go with this game. So, without further ado, welcome, Gabriel. Would you mind giving us a little bit of an introduction?
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for having me. Yeah, my name's Gabriel, and my team, Merfolk Games, has been working on Crypto Crusades for the past few years. We founded the studio in 2018, and it was kind of a family endeavor at the beginning. Me and my siblings kind of got together and thought about, okay, so there's blockchain gaming emerging. What can we create out of this? What would be an interesting take? And what's most importantly, what's possible? Because with a lot of blockchain technology, there are a lot of genres of traditional mobile and PC gaming that are kind of impossible, especially back then when it was a lot of just main nets and without the use of side chains or layer two solutions. So yeah, we just got together and we brainstormed a bunch of different ideas. My brother had been working in the video game industry in the Bay Area for several years already, so we kind of uh, started to think about what games we've played before and what kinds of game mechanics would be fun um, if they were totally on chain. And so eventually we came up with the idea of Crypto Crusades. Uh, the three of us had played a lot of strategy games growing up, and inspired by games like Civ or Age of Empires, we really wanted to make something along that genre. And eventually we came to the idea of Crypto Crusades, where like certain old browser strategy games, they were kind of time based, but they instead of scales of a few seconds or a few minutes, it's a few hours or days. So you might send in with O game, you might send a spaceship from one planet to another, and it might take many hours to reach. And that kind of slower, long-term gameplay works really well for blockchain um, because the technology is so new, it needs time to process. So that's kind of that's kind of how Crypto Crusades came into fruition in the beginning. Uh, and yeah, we expanded from a small team of just the three of us to now I believe we have 10, more than 10. Uh, yeah, so we've got artists, blockchain programmers, and Unity engineers working full time on this mobile game.
First of all, let me just say, to start with, the fact that family started, that is just incredible. I can't say that I've heard that in the blockchain space before, and that's just super cool to hear. And I'm glad that you guys, found a little bit of success and were able to kind of take off with it and grow the team. It's just really amazing and cool to hear. Unique, which we love in this space, right? We're all about being different. Additionally, as soon as you said civilization, you got my attention because I'm not a huge video game person, but I that's like the one game that that can hold my attention for a long period of time. So I was like, all right, I really like where this is going. Um, and then additionally, I think the uniqueness of how you're using the blockchain, specifically the layer two, is very interesting, right? Because part of for those of you that are listening that aren't as familiar with layer twos or side chains or modular L1 and a half, whatever you want to call scale, um, it's a lot faster. So you can do things at a much greater speed than you could on, Ethereum mainnet or something similar. You guys are still going down the route of let's let it take a little bit more time because it actually enhances the style of gameplay that we want. I think that's really, really unique. So that being said, we have a little bit of civilization. We have a little bit of Age of Empires. We got a whole lot of on-chain computing and engineering. What is the game itself? What is Crypto Crusades? What, as a player, should I expect when I download and come to play this application?
So, Crypto Crusades is a grand strategy game for mobile. So, we really wanted to blend a lot of the fun elements of mobile gameplay, especially for mobile strategy games, where the systems weren't too complicated, but they are interesting enough to sustain a lot of fun gameplay. So, with basically the basics of Crypto Crusades are you have a 3D planet and there are tiles, kind of like Civ. There are thousands and thousands of tiles on a 3D globe. And you have your capital city, which is basically your home base, and that occupies one of the tiles. And it's a persistent world, so there are going to be hundreds of other players on each server, on each world, basically. And you have your capital city. You harvest the resources from the surrounding tiles, kind of like Catan. And with those resources, you upgrade your buildings, you train units, and you send them on missions to thieve resources from your neighbors or try to conquer their towns, try to expand your empire, and yeah, that's kind of the basics. And the interesting thing that we're adding to this very classic genre of gaming is the NFT element. So for us, well, first of all, it was really important for us for it to not be a pay to win game. So the games that we really enjoy playing, especially the monetization models, are heavily revolve around skins. So for me, actually, I actually just for a bit of background about what uh, my background. I studied history and archaeology for undergrad and for my master's. So, coming together with my brother who studied video game design, I was like, well, why don't we do medieval architecture and bring in some interesting historic clothing, and maybe you could have flags that are NFTs as well. You could design your own flag, that kind of thing. So when that came together, we designed a system where you can craft NFTs in game using the resources that you have harvested or looted from your neighbors. And you can craft those NFTs in your workshop. And actually, eventually, we would like for the players to be able to sell them either in app or externally. So yeah, we decided that we really want to be kind of like on a mainstream platform. So for us, the actual Android App Store, the Google App Store, the Google Play Store, and the Apple App Store are kind of important to us. So we've been working hard to make sure that we're able to get on those two platforms.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just so unique. It's amazing. I mean, we effectively have a brand new type of utility NFT is what you guys have brought to bear. The ability to effectively make your own NFT and then have it have utility. It has value, and then obviously you have the ultimate goal of allowing them to buy and sell to each other these NFTs. You're effectively creating an NFT use case and market out of thin air, out of in-game resources, which is just absolutely amazing. Brings, I mean, there's so many hypocrites when it comes to NFTs right now because there's so many projects that have NFTs that don't do anything. You guys are basically flipping that completely on its head and saying you can't buy and sell this until you've worked for it and you've built it. And I think that's really amazing, especially kind of just where with this industry is going and what these assets represent. So that being said, you had a very important statement in that last little bit where you said you don't want this to be a pay-to-win game. That's obviously something that's a plaguing concern for many of the new blockchain games coming out. Is it's very easy to buy your way to the top, and that's no fun for anybody. No one wants to play those games, at least not people that can't afford to pay to win. So that being said, what is the initial cost for a user coming into play, and that from there, is there limits on the amount of cities they can have over time? Can they have multiple player accounts and things like that? How structured do you guys have this in order to make it fair for everybody?
Yeah. Well, first, let me comment on the pay to win aspect. I think it's not even just a problem that persists in the blockchain space. It's actually a huge problem that persists in the traditional gaming space, especially for mobile, I would say. A lot of games rely on pay to win mechanics to generate revenue, especially to maximize revenue. And I think that is a pretty big problem because it takes away the fun from the game. And I think, while it may be quote unquote healthy for short term profits, I don't think it's healthy for long term user retention or uh, that kind of, or just building a positive community of players around the games that you're creating. So yeah, for us that was a no brainer. I think we're really excited actually to create a game that's not purely pay to win. And then as for the barrier to entry, I think that is actually a problem. One of the biggest problems that we have with blockchain gaming is this barrier to entry. And that was also from the start something that we really wanted to avoid. So for us, the entry to play the game, to get started, the cost is zero. There is no cost at all to get in the game and start playing. And in fact, you can even craft your NFTs without a barrier to entry. Um, that being said, of course, we also want players who want to support us to have avenues to do so. So we do have a premium NFT, which is kind of like a pre-sale, kind of like an early access support system if you want to support the studio. We have a sale of Genesis cities, which are we have 88 of them, and they are major medieval cities that are scattered throughout the world. We wanted representation in every single continent. And so with these Genesis cities, you can actually choose where your empire starts. So if you wanted to start in London, for example, kind of like you can choose the civ that you're starting with, that kind of thing. Whereas for the rest of the players who want to just play, try it out, they don't want to spend too much money getting in, they just want to see what this new NFT game is like, they will actually just be able to download it on the App Store and play it like a normal traditional mobile game. Uh, yeah.
Well, everybody, you heard it here first. Quite possibly one of the first completely free entry blockchain games, Crypto Crusades, because I've looked pretty hard. I can't find many that are low cost. And I know we can probably thank some of the infrastructure and architecture for allowing things like that to happen. We'll give a nice, healthy shout out to Scale for
Definitely.
supporting our infrastructure and specifically supporting Crypto Crusades and allowing them to, from my assumption, get users in gas free, which is obviously part of that initial onboarding cost. But let's back it up for a second. These Genesis cities, I want to hear more about these. So, I mean, just because I think that's it's a workaround to the play to win, right? You're not giving someone the ability to be better than everybody. You're just giving them the ability to have something a little bit more unique.
Right, exactly. And I think what we came up with was this concept of Genesis cities where, you know, winning wise, you know, in our game there are multiple ways to win. It's like other strategy games. Everyone has their different way of playing. But for us with Genesis cities, kind of the excitement and feeling of playing as a specific area, as a specific civilization, uh, we really wanted to include that. And on top of that, Genesis cities start off with unique, with special architecture. They come with Genesis architecture, which has a different color and texture than regular cities. And they also come with unique skins as well, clothing skins.
It's really awesome. And
Yeah.
not that I not now that I know this, and just because I'm curious, let's say Crypto Crusades goes to production, goes to mainnet. People are having a blast. Is there potentially the possibility in the future for maybe some additional, not Genesis NFTs, but additional, civilization style cities that allow people to be a little bit more custom when they enter the game if they choose to do that in the future?
Right. Yeah. We decided to eventually combine that concept with the mobile gaming concept of starter packs. I really enjoy starter packs because sometimes, I get into a game and I love it, and I'm like, you know what, this game's great. I want to buy cool skins and just kind of like have a little bit of flair in the beginning of the game. And so that's the kind of thing that we are eventually looking to incorporate once we have all of the NFT systems stable and ready. We're planning to have packs of NFTs basically that you can purchase in the beginning of the game, and of course, 100% optional. We don't want this to be a barrier to entry. We want this to be a fun, exciting, extra thing that players can enjoy, where maybe they want to start off the game with a full Chinese architecture set, maybe like a yellow Chinese architecture set. And the cool thing about our game is you can mix and match different architecture styles and clothing styles. You can have a Mayan archer fighting alongside a Chinese cavalry, and your architecture could be maybe Persian architecture, for example. And even within the architecture, each building. So there are several different buildings in game. There's, for example, the warehouse where your resources are stored. There's the workshop where you smelt metal and where you craft your NFTs. Your workshop and your warehouse can have two different architecture styles based on which NFTs you are able to craft.
That is just that's amazing. I'm so excited. I want to play right now. But that being said,
Yeah.
I like where you're going with these different options, these different buildings. Let's take a little bit of a deeper dive for a second into the game, because I think we have at this point. I mean, I didn't know that much about Crypto Crusades before, and I feel like I'm getting a lot closer to understanding. Okay, these are the things that I could do. These are my options. So now let's dive a little bit deeper. You mentioned a little bit ago that you can send units out to harvest and potentially thieve, if you want to be the bad guy, resources. What are those resources? Are they just used to craft NFTs? Do they have other in-game value? Can they be tradable for cryptocurrency. Just let's dive a little bit deeper into these resources so we can understand, kind of one of the probably the core building blocks of this game.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I would say the resources are definitely the building blocks of Crypto Crusades. So when you start off with your capital city, and you can tap a button that harvests resources from the 6 surrounding tiles. So different types of tiles, like Catan, like I said earlier, different types of tiles generate different kinds of resources. So a grasslands tile will produce a lot of food. A forest tile will produce a lot of wood, and the resources are food, wood, stone, metal, inspiration, and gold. So food is mostly used for feeding your army and moving units back and forth, and kind of a lot of army related um, upgrades and things like that. And certain building upgrades will also require food. Wood and stone are mostly used for upgrading buildings. Stone is a little more rare, so stone is used to upgrade more complex or later game buildings like your bank or your city hall. And inspiration is an interesting resource because inspiration is used for primarily for two things. One being enacting policies. You can kind of think of it as tech upgrades, as well as different policies that you can choose for your empire. For example, if you want to be a city state, or you want to be kind of like a trading state that trades a lot of resources back and forth, you can upgrade. You can choose. You can enact certain policies within your city hall that lets you customize your empire in a more fun way. You can kind of role play a little more with the city hall policies. And inspiration is also importantly used for crafting NFTs. So inspiration is it's definitely a later game resource. Metal is an interesting resource as well because you can't harvest metal. Metal is only created at the workshop, at your forge. So in your forge, you basically upcraft your resources, wood and stone, into metal. And metal is used for building, recruiting units. It's also used for certain building upgrades and other things.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to recap real quick to make sure that I've got everything. So we've got resources, core building blocks. We want to harvest them and use them to grow. We've got a capital city that can be either randomly assigned if I join for free, or if I'm feeling a little bit, I really like this, I can purchase a Genesis city and I can have a little bit more customization out of the gate. And then unopinionated freedom to play a strategy game however you want to play the strategy game. You can trade, build, grow, conquer, whatever you want to do. Just have fun.
Yep. And we're experimenting with how many settlements a single player can have. Right now, we're kind of aiming for around 7 max, maybe a little more. We're doing, during beta testing, we're kind of seeing how players feel about, whether the world is too crowded or too empty, that kind of thing. So I think after some time, we'll be able to determine how many settlements a player can have at the same time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good. It's good to know, I think, for the community. And you mentioned something important there. You guys are in beta right now. Is there still additional space for individuals that may want to join?
Yes, absolutely. Our website is cryptocrusades.io, and from the website, you can sign up for early access, and it's totally free. We more than welcome people to come join our testing and try it out on either Android or iOS. And yeah, we currently have a few hundred players testing out at the same time, and battling and building towns and raising each other's towns and that kind of thing, and crafting NFTs. It's fun. I actually just we transitioned from our alpha to the beta about a month ago, maybe a month and a half. And since then, I have, I was able to craft two different NFTs. Yeah, actually, let me quickly talk about the way you actually craft NFTs.
Please do.
So you harvest resources and all that, and you also collect these items called trinkets. And trinkets are actually NFTs as well, but they're kind of like the building block NFTs. So you collect these trinkets, and each NFT requires a certain recipe of trinkets, and you use those trinkets to create very specific things. So there might be like a yellow paintbrush trinket, for example, and the yellow paintbrush trinket will be able to create yellow, you know, yellow cavalry skins or yellow flags or yellow bank architectures, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I actually just in the beta I just finished crafting my crest, which I am using as my flag. And I also believe, oh yeah, and I crafted residential buildings. I was really excited because the the residential house trinket is pretty rare, and as soon as I got it, I was like, oh my god, yes! So it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun getting like having fun playing the game that we've been working so hard at for the past few years. And yeah, anyone can sign up on our website, cryptocrusades.io. We'll send out an email to whichever email address you sign up with, and you can download it on Android. On Google Play, I believe it's directly from the App Store. If you are signed up, you'll be able to see it. And for iOS, for Apple, you have to download Test Flight for testing out beta apps. And so you download Test Flight on the official App Store, and then from within Test Flight, you'll be able to find Crypto Crusades.
Awesome. We'll make sure to drop a link in the description of this video. That way, hopefully, some more people come and join the beta and can help you guys
Yeah.
get more feedback and continue to grow. Um, that's about all that I wanted to ask. I am very grateful, for how in depth you went. I almost feel like I was playing the game during this. There was just so much good information there. Before we wrap up, is there any other updates or just information that you'd like to share with the community?
Yeah. So right now, in our beta, we are kind of doing two things simultaneously. We're testing to make sure that the gameplay is fun, and giving updates with game balancing and things like that. And we're also introducing new features every once in a while. So I believe this is one of the final features before we launch later this year. But we are going to add the market building. And the market building is going to be great for game balancing in terms of being able to trade resources between you and other empires. So if your capital city started off on an island and you're surrounded by water, you're not going to have very much food, or you're not going to have very much stone or wood production. And the market building will be a really nice game balancing tool for players like that to be able to sell their extra food from the water tiles for other players, wood and stone and maybe even inspiration. And yeah, so that's going to come out soon. And then on top of that, the market building eventually will have a section where you can buy and sell NFTs. So that is what's in the works right now. It's kind of what we're excited about.
Awesome. So we have a lot of, it sounds like amazing updates coming from Crypto Crusades, as you heard before, currently in active live public beta. Join them through cryptocrusades.com. .com,
Dot I,
right?
dot I.
.io,
Yes.
cryptocrusades.io. I knew it was .io. Just check.
Yes.
Make sure to join them if you're interested. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have any questions, as always, reach out to us on Twitter and we will forward it on or reach out to them directly. And just want to say thank you very much, Gabriel, for joining me today.
Yeah. Thanks for
It's a
having me.
pleasure. And I think we'll have to have you back once we get some new features out the door.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you.